and be implemented badly and not have achieved success. And so what's better, to pick a good partner and go with a tool that they tell you and be, know that you're going to get something that's of value, or to figure out what the best tool is and then perhaps not put as much time and effort into picking the vendor and have it implemented badly. And so we've actually started to make, I've been advising some clients to actually not worry so much about the nitty-gritty of each feature left and right, but to go with what your partner tells you. If you feel like the partner has your best interest, understands what you're doing, understands your sector, understands how you work, those things are far more likely to contribute to success than having selected the wrong tool.
The thing that could be interesting to talk about is, there's the marketplace changes so frequently. Vendors come and go, products come and go. What can you do to prevent yourself going down a path that's going to lock you in to not being able to be responsive when the vendor, the platform that you're on, starts to fail, starts to not be developed any further, goes completely gone, it gets acquired, and then,
well, that's the big reason that open
stuck.
source is such a big priority now, because the promise is that you will not be locked in, that there is always this potential that you can keep it and pick it up.
That's the promise, but how accurate is that promise? A lot of these platforms like Drupal, there's a ton of customization that you have to do on top of that, and then are you stuck with the vendor who did that customization because nobody else can figure it out and they haven't even documented it? And
I agree with you. If the promise of open source is probably another topic that is very much intertwined in here about whether that promise is actually real.
Yeah.
Most vendors, most clients don't contribute back to the community. Most vendors start with the community and then take things and extend them, and very rarely do they put stuff back that's fully baked. They put stuff back that's, here's what we have, do with it what you want, but it's not baked, fully baked. It's not supported. It's not on
taking this conversation.
I am.
So at the end of the day, what is the hype around and the promise of open source, and how is that realized?
And
how
can the client protect themselves? What can they ask their vendor to do? What can they what sort of requirements can they put in place with their vendor so that their vendor doesn't take them down a dead-end path that's going to be difficult for them to get out of down the road? Are there things they can do?
Yeah, part of what we were suggesting is that they're not choosing open source products that are so wide open that in reality what you get isn't very fully baked to begin with. It's just a sort of a platform that requires so much effort to actually make it into what you want, that by the time you take your site and compare it to someone else's site, they're actually very, very different, and they're so custom that no two vendors can take and swap each other's sites without a significant amount of overwork, because the tool itself isn't a real product that is defined, that is consistently developed, that is trainable, right? You get training.
That is upgradable.
Potentially as well, right? So if you pick open source products that are more fully baked, that might have this sort of product idea to them, then you can take that from one vendor to another, or from one client to another, and be reasonably assured that 70, 80, 90% of it is more or less the way it should work because it's already baked, and you're just customizing around the edges, as opposed to taking a core set of tools with a set of extensions that are really available but not integrated in a way that is a product or distribution, and then having what you create on your site so very different than everybody else who has the same starting point.